I attempted a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee using only grass types. With only 153 Pokemon available plus alternate forms, there are only 5 available encounters in Vileplume, or Victory Bell depending on whether you're playing Pikachu or Eevee, Venusaur, Parasect, Tangela, and Exeggutor. But for the sake of giving myself a full team, I'll allow both Cantonian and Alolan Exeggutor into the team. But will it be enough? We'll have to see, but first make sure to subscribe to the channel as we're just a little under 9,000 subscribers away from my 2023 goal of 200,000. Like this video, and leave a comment below what other monotype hardcore Nuzlockes you'd like to see that haven't been completed yet. But with that, rules are in the description, with one addition for Let's Go. No stat boosting candies, no species specific candies. We've seen a single oddish steamroll this game before, and I want a challenge, so let's jump right in. So with this run, I decided I wanted to go ahead and use Let's Go Pikachu instead of Eevee, since I find Vileplume to be the overall superior Pokemon in comparison to Victory Bell, as my experience in the franchise Nuzlocke series has shown me, especially with access to coverage Fairy-type moves like Dazzling Gleam and Moonblast. Those should be super helpful for late games against the likes of Bruno and Lance, but for now it's just an oddish obtainable on Route 1. Right after we're clear to take on the first rival fight, taking the win with a good few absorbs and his insistence on spamming Growl instead of attacking, which I very much appreciate since I don't have to do this beginning segment again. Now to catch Bulbasaur, I need to have a catch chain of 11 or more so that it's more likely to spawn in the Viridian Forest, so I go ahead and do so on some more Oddish before grabbing that. And since I may as well, because I need 50 Pokemon to get into Koga's gym, I just started catching whatever new Pokemon popped up around the place. Especially since there's so few trainers that the EXP that we get from that is going to help get us closer to the level cap. Though with our 2 currently available encounters in the party, we're clear to take on Brock. Of course, this is made pretty easy thanks to our quad-effective attacks, with Bulbasaur's Vine Whip taking out his lead Geodude in 2 shots due to that high defense, with Onix coming out second. I wanted to reserve my special attacker for taking Onix out, though we do get 2 Vine Whips through 2 Rock Throws, including a critical hit to bring Bulbasaur into the red before swapping out into Oddish, taking a Rock Throw and a critical headbutt that thankfully doesn't flinch, letting me hit Absorb and win the Boulder Badge in quick fashion. Not too terrible, and hopefully Misty ends up going just as well. After grabbing some more Pokedex filler on Route 3, our third encounter is over in Mount Moon in Paris. Unfortunately, we won't be able to evolve before fighting Misty, but we can at least get it to level 19 and learn Leech Life. That combined with the fact that it's our first Pokemon that's not weak to Psychic, as it's not part Poison type, it's gonna be a very handy tool for this. One Super Nerd and Dome Fossil later, and we've got our first encounter with Jesse and James, though. I don't really consider these fights to be major battles, considering they only have 2 Pokemon for a double battle, but I'll at least mention that having 2 Pokemon that are part Poison type does make it extremely helpful in preventing status effects for the time being, though that will change once they evolve Ekans and get access to Glare for paralysis. Though Bulbasaur is still great at setting up Leech Seed on both Pokemon and just whittling them away, all while not taking much damage itself, with Oddish acting as support with Sleep Powder so that it doesn't take nearly as much damage as it normally would. With them out of the way though, it's into Cerulean City we go, but not quite rival time again since I need to do some training for this team to make them ready for that fight, especially against a Pidgey with Gust. After bringing them up to level 15 though, I lead off with Paris against Pidgey, and while this might seem strange due to the quad flying weakness, Gust is special and Pidgey's special attack is just so bad that it doesn't even matter, it's not even a 2-shot, letting me nail out a few headbutts to KO as Paris hits red HP leading to Oddish. I swapped to Bulbasaur to tank a few acids, dealing out tackles to eventually get Oddish to half HP before swapping to my own, working through a potion but inevitably taking it out with a few acids of my own, leaving just Eevee. The team's kind of in a bad way here considering everyone but Oddish is incapacitated, but Oddish's Absorb manages to keep her healthy through Quick Attack, all while I use some growths in the meanwhile to KO before the situation gets out of hand, giving me the win. One Nugget Bridge and Trainer Gauntlet later and the SS tickets are in my grasp, though I still can't head south of Cerulean City yet, so we're forced into the next gym battle after yet another grind. Misty's packing Psyduck first, so I go for my newly evolved Ivysaur, setting up Leech Seed, then swapping for Paris so that I can take Confusion, hit Sleep Powder, and then start setting up Growth in preparation for Starmie, getting back to full HP and +2 in both attack stats, all while Psyduck remains asleep, KOing with Absorb as the big bad Starfish enters last. Sure enough though, the boosts do more than enough through Swift, nearly one-shotting from full with Leech Life, and hell, even a critical Swift on the following turn doesn't even bring Paris below half, letting me hit a second Absorb for the KO, the win, and the Cascade Badge. 2 down, 6 to go, but those were always going to be the easy fights. The game is going to start getting a little bit more challenging and then really ramp up once we get past Erica. Heading on south through Route 6 and into Vermilion City sees yet another rival fight aboard the SS Anne. Though with all the trainers beforehand, we did end up evolving Oddish at level 22 into Gloom. Now you might be wondering why we held off for a level, and that's because Oddish learns Mega Drain at level 22 instead of Gloom's 27. So I figured why not, I could use a more powerful move for a few extra levels. Especially in the face of a newly evolved threat, Trace's lead Pidgeotto equipped with Wing Attack. I go with Ivysaur in the attempt to incapacitate him with Leech Seed plus Growl, and since I'm outspeeding, that does seem to help a lot, especially once Wing Attack starts doing less damage than Leech Seed brings it. And of course, the second one gets a crit and forces me out into Gloom, who also gets crit following a single growth. Well then, I guess it's Mega Drain or bust at this point, and I'm not really excited to bust at this scenario. Thankfully, we do manage to take down Pidgeotto, leading to Eevee, who doesn't go down to 1 Mega Drain, but thanks to a Super Potion from Trace, we do manage to steal that additional HP and KO with 2 more, leaving just Oddish while we're at full HP, ready and willing to melt it to death with Acid to win the fight and obtain Chop Down. Good. But I do want my Alolan revenge. Nina, I do not like you! She leads Jigglypuff, I lead Ivysaur, set up Leech Seed on the turn, she goes for Disable, then managed to flinch twice in a row with Headbutt to keep her immobilized, KOing with a third as Mr. Mime comes in second. It only takes one more turn for Disable to elapse here, so I hit Headbutt before using Leech Seed once more, taking a light Psy-Wave in the process, and then a second before finally swapping out into Gloom and dealing out that super effective Acid to KO and boot her ass back to the games that I never want to play again. Ever. Even though I still have to finish the Professor Oak's challenge. God, why must you give me your hardest battles? Well, at least Lieutenant Surge is not the hardest battle, considering we A, resist his stab attacks, and B, have a newly evolved Parasect that has the ability to use Dig, and therefore absolutely crushes his lead Voltorb after a useless light screen is set up. Then we're able to outspeed his Magnemite and KO that next turn. All that's left is Raichu, who hits a Thunderbolt before I hit Dig next turn to nearly KO in one shot, though he does hit Thunder Wave next turn before I go underground for the second one. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like he has a healing item though, and I'm not held down by paralysis during the 2-turn attack, allowing me to nab the KO and win without much of a struggle. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, do take a quick moment and click the like button and check if you're subscribed. People seem to forget that those are there. A lot, and it would really help immensely in reaching my goal of hitting 200,000 subscribers by the end of 2023. Now that I've ruined your immersion for funny internet points though, I've got to head through Rock Tunnel, but beforehand I've got to travel back through Diglett's Cave and spit out at Route 2 so that I can get both a free Leaf Stone and Light Up for Rock Tunnel itself. Heading on through and getting sent out into Lavender Town, but with no new encounters, there's nothing really to go over. No trainer battles have been a struggle so far, aside from needing a little bit of an idea of what I needed to do for major fights. Though I did get Ivysaur to evolve during the onslaught against the inhabitants of Kanto, so I can't complain, as well as Gloom right before entering Erica's gym. Her trainers are also pretty easy as well, even the ones with Execute with that psychic typing thanks to Parasect, so let's see if Erica herself can manage to provide any semblance of challenge. She leads off with Tangela as I go with Parasect, and I'm literally just going for growth. The only thing Tangela can do here is Mega Drain, maybe use Bind, but I have Leech Life and that's super effective, so after taking nearly half damage, I'm good to fire it off for a one-shot after a few growths, doing the same to Weepinbell after a super effective Poison Jab that gets the poisoning and nearly one-shots me. But thanks to the power of friendship plus the healing from Leech Life, we're able to get back to around 2/3 HP with no poison on Parasect going into Vileplume, giving me plenty of HP to survive even a critical Moonblast, which thankfully doesn't happen as a normal one lands, letting Leech Life KO in one shot afterwards to win me the battle and the Rainbow Badge. Alright, easy stuff is over, it's time for the absolutely hellish part of the game. I'm in for a hell of a beating of a lifetime with Koga, Sabrina, and Blaine all back-to-back. So of course, training needs to occur first, and with the level cap for both Koga and Sabrina being level 44, I'm gonna have to go into Koga under level just so that I can gain access to Surf, and therefore my next encounter, as Tangle is on Route 21. Though I still won't be able to get Execute with that due to needing the Marsh Badge to get to Route 23's first instance of Grass encounters, as that's where the Pokemon League is. But at least we have an easy enough rival battle to take care of first, as he leads Pidgeotto and myself with Venusaur, setting up Leech Seed as we take Wing Attack for minimal damage, then setting up Reflect as Sand Attack is used, getting Venusaur back to full HP before swapping for Vileplume. From here, I should be able to get off 2 growths or so, and hopefully not get hit with any sand attacks, and sure enough, that does happen. I'm able to get 2 of them off, going down to about half HP before hitting Mega Drain for the KO, as Reflect wears off, leading to Gloom. We exchange Acids for 1 turn before Trace heals, allowing for Vileplume to hit 2 more to KO, leaving just Jolteon to be KO'd by a single Mega Drain, and win the fight. It's alright, but I'm still worried about the triple header I gotta go against. I still don't have the Silph Scope though, so I just go ahead and clear out all of the trainers while dodging the ghosts here very skillfully, eventually using them once I get to the top with the big Marowak ghost so they send me down faster. Now to clear out the Team Rocket game corner, and with my level advantage at this point, this should be a cinch. Jesse and James is the first of 3 major fights here, emphasis on fight and less emphasis on major because these guys suck. But while Arbok does have Glare now with dual screens on Venusaur though, as well as Leech Seed, Dig on Parasect for super effective damage, I just bit my tongue saying that sentence, ow, and Vileplume in the back with Growth and Mega Drain to gain back HP if needed. This fight is a cinch. Next up is Archer, leading Weezing as I go with Venusaur, mostly to set up Leech Seed and Light Screen, taking 2 Flamethrowers in the process for around a quarter damage total before swapping to Vileplume. From here, it's just setting up Growth during the rest of the Light Screen's duration, recovering with Leech Seed during this time and not getting burned, eventually setting up 3, using Protect for the HP, then using Mega Drain to get back to full as Golbat comes out second. Despite being quad resistant to Mega Drain, it's still a 3-shot at +3, though Air Slash is a bit of a threat. One of them flinches, which puts me dead to a critical hit, but I take the risk to keep Mega Draining, eventually getting brought down to just a few HP before KOing with the third to win the match. Now Giovanni is actually, who am I kidding, he's the easiest among them, considering he has only 2 Pokemon and one of them is quad weak to Grass. First is Persian, so I lead with Venusaur, taking a Fake Out and non-crit slash for about a third before hitting Leech Seed, then taking another non-crit slash before setting up Reflect, then using Petal Dance to KO after a little Leech Seed damage, hitting the second next turn on Rhyhorn to KO, and win the fight and get them out of here. Out goes Team Rocket, and here comes Team Rocket as we have to fight Jesse and James at the top of Pokemon Tower once again. Here, it's literally the same fight as the last one. Venusaur Leech Seed dual screens, Parasect Dig, Vileplume with Growth, Protect, and Mega Drain for extra HP. It's just an easy victory that hands me the Pokeflute once Mr. Fuji returns to his home. Admittedly though, I'm starting to really feel the strain of only having 3 Pokemon on the team. Glare did make that battle more difficult than it should have been since everything kept getting paralyzed, and even with the Power Friendship healing Vileplume's paralysis during it, it was still kinda down to just avoiding crits to avoid dying. However, it's gonna be even worse once we hit Koga, though I do have quite a ways to go to get there. I think the highest I can get away with being is level 42, since I have to take care of the battles against Blue, the double against Archer and a Grunt, Jesse and James, as well as Giovanni and the Silph Company, not to mention with Blue having both an Executor and Charizard, we need as much of a level advantage as possible so we don't die to super effective attacks in Psychic, Heat Wave, and Air Slash. It's also really unfortunate that none of my Pokemon can learn the TM for Psychic, plus no Safari Zone means Executor isn't even obtainable for this fight, so I'm just hoping to God Parasect can pull through with Dig. Starting off with Koga's Weezing, I go with Venusaur only to immediately swap into Vileplume predicting Protect, which I'm correct with. Then I go for it myself expecting Explosion from Weezing, but not seeing it as I go for a double Protect, getting it off and blocking a Sludge Bomb as he goes for Protect next turn and I get off Growth. Awesome, now we can just play this game of alternating Protect and Growth until Weezing just decides to kill itself, getting off a second and then a third, following another blocked Sludge Bomb, finally using my 5th Protect into Explosion, blocking it and KOing Weezing in the process. 1 down, 3 to go as Golbat enters in next, leading to Protect on the turn I go for Growth, doing the same next turn as his only flying type move is Fly, something I can easily block with Protect, and seeing as I'm at full HP, I can easily get to +6 and start spamming Mega Drain to hit him on his turn coming out of Fly. Doing half damage, but it's nowhere near enough seeing as Vileplume took about 80% from Fly. So I swap into Venusaur on a Fly, taking it next turn to set up Leech Seed, then getting enough HP to survive another following it going up on my turn that I use Reflect, surviving on 25 HP before setting up Light Screen just as well. From here, I'm kinda just hoping Koga has a full restore or something as I swap back into Vileplume to start setting up growths again, but once I see Koga go for Fly on my swapping turn, I know I just need to use Protect and let Golbat go down to the Leech Seed damage, KOing the second of his 4 Pokemon. Unfortunately though, next up is Venomoth and this thing has Psychic. I am toast, so it's time to swap into Parasect instead of seeing a Protect. Well, that's actually the best thing that could have happened here. Getting that free switch lets me go for Spore as he hits Bug Buzz for less than half, lowering my special defense, but at least letting me put it to sleep. Swap back into Venusaur, then hope to God it stays asleep long enough for me to set up Light Screen, which it does. Then Leech Seed, which it doesn't, hitting Psychic and bringing Venusaur down to just 11 HP. I'm glad I went for Light Screen first, but at least here I can swap into Vileplume to tank a Psychic for minimal damage, healing most of it thanks to Leech Seed, and with him going for Protect next turn as I go for Growth, there's even more HP saved here. I'm able to get off a second Growth as Psychic lands to bring Vileplume back to where we were 2 turns earlier, doing the same song and dance as he goes for Protect again and I go for Growth. But now that Light Screen is done and over with following another Psychic, I go for one more Growth, using Protect to heal as much as possible and not die to another Psychic, then try for the double Protect for the extra healing. That doesn't end up happening as Psychic brings us down to just 4 HP. Though with that failing, I can at least get away with doing it one more time, letting Leech Seed KO as Muck is his final Pokemon. However, 2 of my Pokemon are incapacitated, so I'm basically forced into hoping Mega Drain does enough at this point to outlast Sludge Bomb, and it does! Thankfully it does! With no critical hit on the first turn, giving me enough to survive a crit next turn, which doesn't occur, thankfully, allowing me to KO with 3 Mega Drains to win the fight, and Deathless no less. Oh my goodness, that... At least I got the Soul Badge, no deaths, but we still came away with the skin of my teeth because that was not in my favor whatsoever. Navigating that was a minefield with barely any detection methods. It's not over yet. You thought Koga was hard with a type that we had neutrality with 2 of our 3 current Pokemon as well as an immunity to their status? Well, after nabbing up Tangela on Route 21, Blue has something to say as he leads off with Executor, myself with Venusaur setting up Light Screen as he does the same, allowing me to swap into Parasect and tank a Psychic for less than a quarter, all while Leech Life gets the one-shot leading to Charizard. Thankfully, Light Screen gives me just enough HP to survive a non-crit, hitting Spore and allowing for me to swap into Venusaur next turn to set up another Light Screen before he wakes up, but disastrously he dodges my first attempt at Leech Seed, allowing for 2 Heat Waves to connect without any healing on my part, especially when the second one burns. Oh jeez, I think the only way I'm gonna survive at this point is using Tangela as a sack, or if it survives, just for a turn of damage with Leech Seed. Thankfully, this works and we survive on 6 HP, finally swapping into Vileplume, who takes only around 20% from Heat Wave, with the Light Screen still up. But now that it's worn off, I think my best bet is just using Toxic, a handy TM we got from Koga, to get more damage and stall with Protect. But with Heat Wave missing, we're probably in the clear. Thank you, 90% accuracy. Toxic connects since it bypasses accuracy checks as a poison type, we use Protect, and we're back at full HP with Charizard at around 25% as Heat Wave connects next turn, leaving an Acid to clean up the KO and the win with, once again, 0 losses despite coming out of the fight extremely worse for wear. If just a single Charizard gave me that much trouble, I don't think we can physically get past Blaine. But we still have Sabrina to worry about first, so let's not worry about him just yet. The double battle against Archer and the Grunt is next, and sure enough, thanks to Venusaur with Protect, we block the Electrode self-destruct on turn 1 as Muck goes for Toxic on Cubone, though it almost gets the KO on Muck with Bone Meringue, doing so next turn through a Minimize as well, with both Weezing and Raticate entering the field. Trace ends up healing the Toxic Poisoned Cubone with a Hyper Potion. That should have been a full restore, as I go for Leech Seed on Weezing, with Sucker Punch whiffing from Raticate as Flamethrower hits Cubone for decent damage. All good though, as this is still enough HP for Trace's Cubone to connect with a Bone Meringue on Raticate as both Venusaur and Weezing go for Protect, only taking a Sucker Punch from Raticate to Cubone and barely hanging on through the Toxic, giving me fodder to take Weezing's Flamethrower next turn as Petal Dance finishes off Raticate, making this a 2-on-1 beatdown. Trace sends in Pidgeot as Venusaur is back at basically full HP, nearly KOing Weezing with Petal Dance as Air Slash from Pidgeot KOs it, leading to Golbat. From here, though, I'm just trying to use Protect to block a Confusion turn, though we fail and hit ourselves as Pidgeot hits Air Slash on Golbat, unfortunately not flinching as Air Slash from Golbat hits Venusaur to bring it down to around 65%. Not a problem though, as we snap out a Confusion next turn to set up Light Screen, basically nullifying Golbat, though Pidgeot does miss with Air Slash during this turn. But with that light screen, it seems that Golbat has shifted focus to using Crunch on Pidgeot, giving me free reign to set up Leech Seed and let it die with a Protect turn to win us the fight. Not bad whatsoever. Only needed one of my own Pokemon to take care of 5 on the opponent's side is kinda neat at least. So now that we have to take care of Jesse and James, I decide to shift around my moves with the infinite use TMs at my disposal, and sure enough, this fight goes like every other Jesse and James fight. Venusaur and Vileplume, Protect, Dual Screens, Glare Not Mattering, and Growth Mega Drain combo, keeping Vileplume healthy enough to decimate everything, KOing both after a barrage of Leech Seed, Mega Drain, and Petal Dance to win the fight. Now Giovanni is once again ready to fight, and yeah, he's pretty damn easy. Persian leads once again as I go for Venusaur, taking Fake Out and a non-crit slash as I set up Reflect, as well as a second non-crit slash as I get off Leech Seed. Sound familiar? Sending in Vileplume next turn to take a crit, then start setting up Growth. Admittedly though, these crits are starting to hurt a lot, as 2 in a row means I can only get off 1 Growth, taking a third before Mega Drain brings us to around 70% to KO, leading to Rhyhorn. It's a one-shot as expected, leaving just Nidoqueen, who is a 2-shot following 2 body slams, neither of which paralyzed to end the fight swiftly. Now then, Sabrina. Parasect, for the love of God, please ride me to victory. So the plan I conceived of here is leading Venusaur against Mr. Mime, immediately setting up Light Screen as she goes for her own Light Screen, then using Leech Seed as we avoid a Psychic thanks to the power of Friendship. I'll take it as I swap to Parasect and do the same thing, dodging and setting up Growth next turn as Psychic finally connects for very minimal damage. But with Reflect set up now, I think it's time I use Spore and start setting up more Growths to bypass that nasty Mr. Mime and it's setting up that downside. During this time though, Parasect gets back to full HP from that Leech Seed, all while getting up 2 Growths as Mr. Mime finally wakes up, and it's a Psychic for big damage, with the second getting a special defense drop. Oh, shoot. Well, sadly, I'm gonna have to stay in here and risk a range, surviving on 2 HP as I go for Dig. Now, why would I go for Dig? Well, Parasect is slower than both Jinx and Alakazam, and with Jinx coming out next, and the Mr. Mime going down to Leech Seed damage while I'm underground, I'm able to then have the Jinx out second, attack first, and with the Reflect now dissipated, it gives me a second KO for free as Slowbro enters third. Thankfully, as the name implies, it's slow, and Parasect outspeeds the KO with a single Leech Life, getting back a ton of HP and leaving just Alakazam. Now, despite being at -1 special defense, I say screw it. No gamble, no future, going for Leech Life. Surviving Psychic on again -1 special defense with just 12 HP, as a single Leech Life takes care of Alakazam, winning me the fight. I knew that Dig play was huge, I'm glad I thought of it, but that special defense drop could have been disastrous. Not to mention the potential range of Mr. Mime's Psychic following that drop could have probably KO'd, but we're past it, and we still have all of our team members, and we're going to need everything if we're going to get past Blaine. Now then, with the Marsh Badge, we can now access the area of Route 23 with Grass to capture not just 1, but 2 Execute. Reason being that in the building with the Pokemon League, there's a trade for an Alolan Executor in exchange for a Cantonian form, and I will happily take a Dragon type if I manage to make it that far. Unfortunately, it's not accessible before Blaine, which means I have 0 neutralities and all of my Pokemon take very nasty super effective damage from things like Fire Blast and Flare Blitz. But for now, we have 5 team members, evolving Execute straight away into Executor, all while setting up my moves, getting both the TM for Sludge Bomb and the Secret Key out of the Pokemon Mansion, then grinding them up to the edge of level 48 for Blaine's level cap. He leads off with Magmar, myself with Venusaur, and I think this is my only potential out to this entire fight. I outspeed with Light Screen, taking Confuse Ray, so I have to swap out into Executor. It's my only capable Pokemon of KOing this while surviving 2 Flamethrowers, and is not integral to my strategy for the other 3 members of his team, though of course it manages to get outsped by Magmar following a Flamethrower on switch in to get hit by Confuse Ray. Thankfully though, we do manage to hit 2 75% chances in a row to hit 2 Psychics, KOing and leading to Rapidash. Now with this out, I swapped to Venusaur due to having as high of defense as I actually have on the team, taking Flare Blitz with only 10 HP remaining as Light Screen wears off. Tangela is actually also capable of surviving a Flare Blitz due to its high defense, taking another and dealing plenty of recoil damage to the horse as I finally try my luck with Vileplume. At this range, I should be able to KO with a Sludge Bomb, and I have a feeling he's going for Quick Attack as he sees the KO here. Then next turn, I can outspeed and KO it before another Flare Blitz comes out. But then it actually is able to outspeed with Flare Blitz and KO Vileplume following that Quick Attack. Huh, even my fastest team member is unable to outspeed the horse. I don't think there's any way to come back from this. Everybody but Parasect has too little HP for Flare Blitz to do enough recoil damage for it to matter. None of them outspeed, especially since both Venusaur and Tangela are in quick attack range. So after losing Vileplume, I swap into Parasect, and my only winning play is Dig. But I can't outspeed, with Flare Blitz KOing both Parasect and Rapidash with the recoil damage, with Ninetales coming out third. It, from here, can just hit Fire Blast on Executor. As we tough it out thanks to the power of Friendship, maybe we do have a chance. Only to realize Sludge Bomb does barely anything, and Psychic does the same after we dodge, once again with the power of Friendship. Can we get through it due to the bullshit? No, because Quick Attack KOs, leaving just Tangela, and I'm resigned to my fate as Fire Blast takes out my final 10 HP of my final Pokemon, ending my run. So after extensive testing, this is literally as far as you can physically take this Nuzlocke with this rule set without Friendship Cheese activating more than it did for me here. Let's take a look at why, though, since there's a lot of capable ideas that are just either inaccessible at this time, or just fail because of a lack of actually good stats. Firstly, Venusaur does learn Earthquake by TM, and while theoretically great, that TM is only obtainable after beating Giovanni's Gym, something that's inaccessible before having the other 7 badges. Secondly, we do not have the option to use held items. A Persim Berry would have gone a long way for Venusaur to be able to establish both Light Screen and Leech Seed against that lead Magmar. But without that, we're basically boned from the start unless we want to flip a 75% chance on the second turn of the battle that literally decides the whole thing if it already isn't impossible. Thirdly, we cannot access the Move Relearner as it's located in the Pokemon League. This would theoretically grant Venusaur access to Amnesia, a great move that could mitigate Flamethrower's damage, all while also having Growth learnable at level 44. But that would mean losing out on Light Screen for the rest of the team, and only having a single attack slot when Amnesia, Growth, and Leech Seed need to be on the same moveset. The best attacking move that Venusaur gets for this is Petal Dance at 120 power, but Fatigue would set in and likely cost us the fight, with the second best being the 75 power Mega Drain, which would be resisted. And even with a modest nature, which we had in this run, 31 IVs in special attack at full HP versus Blaine's Rapidash, averaged at 15 IVs in special defense and HP, would still be a 2-shot to KO. In fact, even at an average 15 IVs, Flare Blitz just straight up has a 12.5% chance to one-shot Venusaur, even with a perfect 31 IVs in both defense and HP as shown here. And like I said, none of my Pokemon are able to outspeed Rapidash even if they have perfect speed IVs and a speed boosting nature. And with zero access to agility or baton pass to send it over to something like Venusaur or any other speed boost of any type, I'm just dead in the water here. Now, of course, there is always the big press button in case of impossibility usage of stat boosting candies, but like I said, you can literally beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Let's Go Pikachu with a single Oddish because of those things. In fact, if you do check that video of the Let's Go leg of the franchise Nuzlocke, the fight against Blaine is just completely steamrolled because of how boosted up stats there are. So, this is where the run stands, though admittedly I'm extremely surprised I managed to make it to Blaine on my first attempt. I was sure that I might have had some flawed execution with Koga, an errant crit that could have occurred any time during that stretch from Koga, Blue, or Sabrina, and that Sabrina fight could have gone completely wrong if even a single critical hit made its way to Parasect. However, if you want to try this run yourself and manage to figure out a way to beat Blaine without using stat boosting or species-specific candies, try your hand at making a video like this yourself. Let me know on Twitter, link in the description, and I'll give you a shout out at the beginning of one of my future videos. But with that said, thank you guys for watching, don't forget to like the video, comment down below what other videos you want to see, and subscribe so we can hit 200,000 by the end of the year. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.